Hello, welcome back to another reading vlog. This is the type of reading vlog that I haven't really done before. Not that it'll be much different. But today we have a NetGalley arc reading vlog for you. So the book in question that we will be discussing within this vlog is When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. It comes out on May 3rd and I didn't know that that was so soon. So I got this arc last week and thought that it sounded really cool. It's basically set in 1950s where there was this mass dragoning is what they call it, where so many women within the world just like transformed into a dragon, and some of them pointedly took people out on their flight away, for example, abusive husbands and things like that, and they were never to be like heard from or seen again. And the weird thing about it is that there is a vast majority of people within the book who want to act like it never happened. So our main character, her aunt, did transform into a dragon and disappear, and her mom refuses to accept that her aunt ever existed now. So, hello, focus. Hello. I forgot where I was. Basically, our main character's name is Alex, and her mother refuses to accept that their Aunt Marla was ever a thing. And after all of this happened, Alex's mom brought home Alex's cousin Beatrice and just pretended or said that Beatrice is Alex's sister, always has been. And when questioned, she'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. This has always been how it is. And if Aunt Marla was brought up, she would get very short, very angry, and it's all very strange. So where I'm at in the story now, I'm like 22% in. We're following Alex as she is growing up, following this mass dragoning thing. And so far it's been a little bit all over the place, I think. Some of the chapters are almost like an essay or like a academic paper of someone, I'm guessing Alex, researching the mass dragoning and talking to people about what happened and kind of just like trying to get to the bottom of it, of what's really going on and why it's such a taboo topic. And then the other parts of the story are us following Alex as she's growing up currently. And so far I like it. It's a story that I have been able to like get back into very quickly. Like once I start reading it, even a couple paragraphs in, I feel almost like in the zone, you know, like ready to sit and read for a while. And in regards to characters, I'm upset that Aunt Marla is already like gone from the story. I feel like I definitely would have really loved to see more of her because she was in the first like 15% or so, she was like the star. You know, I was really excited to see her on the page and get to know her a little bit better. And before Aunt Marla actually like dragoned and left, Alex's mom was actually pretty interesting because she's super smart. She's like a mathematician or something like that. She's very good with numbers, and she ties these knots. Like she will crochet all of the clothes and aprons and things like that that Alex and Beatrice and herself will wear. And she will make these like bracelets that like certain knots are for safety or courage or things like that. It's leading me to believe that like there is actually some sort of magic tied in within these knots, and Alex's mom is like deeper than what we are getting. And now that she is kind of a character that I'm not liking anymore because she's being so stubborn and so close-minded about the dragoning situation, I don't know how to feel about her. I'm really hoping that she comes around later on and that we can actually get to know her and her knots, I guess, and her like really smart brain. I just want to know what's going on with her because I feel like she has potential to be a really cool character eventually. And Alex's dad is obviously like the typical man in this time in the 1950s that's like, I need to be waited on 24/7. I will not be questioned if I do not make it home for dinner. I have to go on business trips and I am the man of the house, like so on and so forth. Like I'm guessing that he's gonna get eaten at some point. Oh, and some of the other little chapters that we've gotten, like there was a police report in one of them that was like taking account of some of the aftermath of the mass dragonings, or I don't know, like things like that. And sometimes it's just hard to tell where in the story I am, if all of these are happening at the same time or what the purpose of each type of passage that I'm reading is. And obviously I think that I'll learn that later on. But it is Saturday now and Avi's sitting over here whining. She wants to go on her morning walk, so I will indulge her. And hopefully I finish this stinking book before the 3rd. So yeah, welcome to the vlog. Thank you for being here and let's go.
When the stars close bright, the summer's old. In the misty bright moonlight I were told. When the storm is raging in your head, when you feel there's nothing more ahead, the hills they seem all green but they hide all the by the lake, you were chasing your dream. And I gave you a rose that you kept unseen, kept unseen.
A new day, and I have gotten to about 75% in of When Women Were Dragons. And while having my morning coffee, I was just trying to gather some thoughts so far within this arc that I'm reading. And I definitely have some thoughts with what's going on within this story. First of all, this story is advertised as Kelly Barnhill's like adult debut, and I do not see that. I don't see that at all, because I even looked it up before I sat down to film this update because I didn't want to be like overtly wrong. Even our main character isn't an adult. She is a teenager who is forced to like parent her sibling. So like she has to grow up quickly in a sense, but she's still very much a teenager. She's still very much like in high school. And like she says out loud many times, like, I'm a teenager, or like I'm 15, or however old she is. Not only just the age of our main character, but like all of the themes and the way that the story is being told. I don't see any adult topics. I don't see anything that would make me think that this was an adult book. It feels very YA to me, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I was expecting more adult discussions and more adult, I don't know, things going on. I feel like even considering this book as being like new adult is even a stretch, in my opinion. So that's definitely something that doesn't really make sense to me. But also the writing itself hasn't been my exact favorite. I know that it's an arc, and I feel like maybe there has been some, or will be some, edits that take place from what I'm reading to what you will be reading if you do buy this book at the release date. I'm waking up my Kindle to look at my highlights because there were a couple things that I just kind of wanted to bring up. Like the writing itself feels very repetitive to me, and I understand being repetitive to make a point or to like make an emphasis on something every now and then. I feel like that's absolutely fine. But one sentence literally says the loose panel was still loose, and I feel like that definitely could have been worded differently. Like the floor panel that I used to hide things underneath was still loose to this day, or something like that. I don't know, I'm not an author, but like I think that sentence could have been worded differently. And just one other fundamental thing was how this author is like describing people. I feel like she has thought of one way that she really likes to describe a character, and then she will only use that description of a character. Like one of our characters is Beatrice, and she's like a young girl who just has a lot of energy, and she's described as along these lines of a whirlwind and hard to contain. And those words are always used to describe her. It doesn't stray from those words very much at all. So I'm just looking for some variety, and I'm not really getting it, but the story itself is still interesting enough to keep going. Like I said before, it's set in like the 1950s, where in this time women are very much like looked down on and thought of less than, and that it is a waste to go to like higher education, and they are meant to be like the home people, like in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, all of these things. So that's obviously annoying, but I also know that like that is what this time period is. However, we are getting our certain characters who are breaking this narrative, so that is definitely helping this story along and making it a little bit more contemporary and a little bit easier to, swallow. And then our main character Alex has been conditioned so severely to these thoughts and ideas that now that she's taking care of her younger sibling Beatrice, it's getting a lot harder for Alex to continue to shun these discussions about dragons. So the characters like Beatrice this, and the librarian, I love her, as well as Dr. Gantz and like all of these other characters that are challenging this narrative of the government trying to hide what's going on, are really making this story like much more dynamic and much more interesting, because it's absolutely absurd. Like any time that there is a dragoning is what they call it, while our characters are in school, like they call an air raid to make all of the kids go into the hallway with like a book over their head so that no one will look outside and see a dragon, because no one wants to address it and everyone wants to just claim that it's not actually happening. Avi, can you like stay still? My goodness. Again, I'm interested enough to keep reading, and I will be finishing this book today, and I will come back with my final thoughts.
The hills they seem all green, but they hide all the monsters. And you kept holding my hand as you reached for water. The hills by the lake you were
It's the same day Okay, Speed Racer. I have finished When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. And I have issues. I also not only have issues, but I also have book mail to go over. I have a fairyloot and an Owl Crate book that one of my patrons sent me. Heather, thank you. So I don't know whether to go through these or talk about my issues with it. Let's talk about my issues first, because they're kind of fresh. Okay, so in my last update, I mentioned how this book doesn't feel adult. Well, it really freaking isn't. It's not at all. The main character literally says, like, I'm a teenager. And like by the end of the book, she's like finished with her first semester of college. That's not adult. Maybe new adult by the very end, but that's like literally the last, like, I don't know, 5%. So if anything, this is YA branching into new adult, in my opinion. So that in and of itself was misleading, and I was expecting more, I guess, or expecting something different at the very least. And also it is advertised as like LGBT, and yeah, kind of. I mean, yes, absolutely, it falls under that category. But it was literally just like a whiff of sapphic romance. And I am upset that there was so little of it. And it was just hinted at, like, throughout the story. Like, I want queer characters. And this book was like, here's an idea of a queer character and draw your own conclusions. There was very little actual, like, romance discussed between our characters, which is fine. I know this wasn't a romance book. And nor do I like think that it should have been absolutely like the focus of the book, because I know that wasn't the point of the book. But I do think that those aspects could have made the book a lot stronger. I really cared about Alex and her love interest Sonia, and we literally saw them like maybe 3 or 5, not even 5% of the book. She left the narrative at one point, and when she came back into the narrative, she was literally in it for like 2%, and then she was gone again. I am upset, clearly, at things that I wanted from this book that were not delivered. I felt myself skimming a lot towards the end of the book. The last, like, at least 5 to 8% of the story, I was just kind of skimming. The story kept going from, like, the present narrative to, I found out it wasn't our main character's paper that was being written. It was Dr. Gantz's, one of the people who are studying, like, the dragoning and studying the biology, physiology type things regarding it, which I liked his character a lot. I wish we saw more of him. But the story kept jumping from like the present day situation to blurbs from his papers to police reports to like way back in the day to actual like recountings of random dragonings that took place. And it was just, it felt very scattered. It felt all over the place. And I am actually kind of upset about how this story ended up being put together, because the idea of it I felt was super cool, but the ultimate resolution or how it actually came into fruition, I didn't love. And how the dragons were like in the story. My camera died almost along with my spirit, but okay. Anyways, the dragons in this story, I felt it was hard for me to picture. Like, I'm a very visual reader. I can normally picture things, but I guess I just didn't love this interpretation of dragons. How they still like came back in the end to raise their children or teach classes, and they still were like productive members of society. I guess I just didn't like that. I don't know. I feel like I probably have said everything that I wanted to say about this story, and I'm just checking my notes and highlights just to see if there was something else. I guess the only other thing that I kind of want to mention is that in my previous update, I mentioned how Alex, our main character, was like conditioned to like hate dragons and conditioned to not believe in them and teach her younger sibling, Beatrice, to renounce them, you know, all of these things. And then I understand that at some point in the story, she does start to like learn about dragons and all of these things, but there was no like gradual understanding of dragons for her. It was just like one page. She has a narrative where she's still like very much the same way as the beginning of the story. And then she's having a conversation with this boy that she's going to prom with, definitely not adult, where she's saying to the guy, she's like, what's your problem with dragons? They're just beings. They're just here. They're fine. Like, I was like, what? Since when? I don't know. I'm confused, and I think that this book was all over the place. I liked the ideas. I liked some of the narrative where like there was some really nice quotable parts, but ultimately I think that I just like have more problems with this than anything else. So I feel like I would rate this, I don't know if I'll rate it a 2 or a 3 on Goodreads, but I feel like it's a 2.5 for me, which is upsetting because I'm trying to get myself to read more arcs, but this is why I haven't in the past, because I'm nervous about wasting my time. But now I have done you guys the service that maybe you don't need to pick this one up. Is that mean to say? I don't know. I didn't love it. You might love it. You might love it. You could pick it up if it sounds cool to you. I mean, hey. But yeah, that's the book. That's what transpired during this reading of When Women Were Dragons. And now let's move on into something a little bit more fun. Let's look at what book mail I got. So let's look at the fairyloot, because I do the fairyloot adult only. This should be an adult book. Adult fantasy book only subscription. You know what I'm trying to say. I am entirely too lazy to go get scissors. Okay, so we have the fairyloot. Very cute. Ooh, and the theme is divine power. And I don't want to look on the back to see what it is, because I have no idea what book this is. Oh, it's a chunker though. Very, very fun. Okay, ready? Oh, I love a black sprayed edge moment. I have no idea what this is. Oh, it's just like plain sprayed black. Sprayed black? I don't know. Oh, I don't know what this is. Ooh, this is stunning. So it is The City of Dusk by Tara Sim. And this, wow, this is really, really pretty. It's just plain sprayed black. Oh my God, does it have a little bookmark thing? It sure does. Wow, hold on. Cute. And then I'm guessing the hardcover will be just as pretty. Are we ready? Hello. Wow. What a time to be alive. Look at that. Wow. And this says The Dark Gods Book 1. So this is obviously a series. Oh, a trilogy. The City of Dusk is the first in a sweeping epic fantasy trilogy set in a gorgeous world of dark magic, vengeful gods, and rebellious chosen ones. Okay. Wait, this sounds awesome. The 4 realms, life, death, light, and darkness, all converge on the City of Dusk, ruled by the 4 noble houses of Nexus, but the gods have withdrawn their favor from the once vibrant and thriving city, and without it, all of the realms are dying. Unwilling to stand by and watch the destruction, the 4 heirs will sacrifice everything to save the city, but their defiance will cost them dearly. I'm actually kind of obsessed with the vibe of this picture inside this little circle. Don't look at me. Look at the picture. I love that vibe. It's giving Grey London in a darker shade of magic. I'm pretty sure it's Grey London. You know, the one that's all gray and dusty. No, not gray. Black London? It was White London. White London, the one where it's sick with magic and it's just kind of like, you know, I'm into it. I really love this. I'm excited. And then we can look at the Owl Crate book that my bestie Heather sent me. I already know what it is because obviously we swapped for it. Oh, I'm far too lazy to go get something sharp. Let me try to use a pen. God bless. She's an angel, and she sent me the pictures and the little wood bookmark as well. But the book itself is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I hadn't yet bought a copy, and she said that she had, I think, 2 copies of it. And she asked if anyone wanted her Owl Crate edition, and I was like, yes. Yes, I do. So this is absolutely... Oh. I didn't know it would be signed. It's a signed nameplate. Wow, I'm excited. But yeah, here is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. It's also, love this moment. Love, where am I going? This way. A black sprayed edge moment. Oh, I love that sound of like a new hardcover, you know? Yes. The hardback says, there must always be a prior at the gate. What does that mean? I don't know. I honestly know nothing about what this story is, but I do love the size of it. Cute little square, you know? I'm really vibing with it. Very cool. The little blurbs say, everything casts a shadow, even the world we live in. And it says, these shadows are not real. The dreams can never hurt you. You will be safe as long as you stay away from Gallant. And one, I'm excited to have like this beautiful copy of it, but I'm excited to have more of V.E. Schwab's work because I really loved A Darker Shade of Magic. And I also just noticed that these are hands right here, and here. Love that. Oh, and there is also a wood bookmark, and it says, I can shape death, but you can give it life. And it's like a dead hand and a real alive hand. And it's like shadow and flowers. Very pretty. And obviously the signed nameplate. This is amazing. Didn't know that was happening. And then the 2, you know, photos. Super cool. Thank you again, Heather, for sending that to me. Yeah, wow. Love this. So I guess that is all that I have for you today. If you are still watching, then leave the dragon emoji down below because I guess that's what has happened. But while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.